Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope everybody is doing okay today. I'm starting the show early. I'm going to have to leave during the middle of the day, but I'll be back for more shows. So, starting off with Sam Seder. Sam Seder has made it his quest, and his work wife, Michael Brooks, have made it their quest to essentially attack Jimmy Dore. Now, in this case, they've made it their mission also, in this case, to attack Tulsi Gabbard. My horse in this race is Sanders. But I don't necessarily hate Tulsi, even though I don't necessarily have, I think, the affinity for her that some people do. I'm more so have an open ear for her, let's say it that way. But they've been pretty strident in making videos going after her full bore. Let's see if this comes back. Here we are. Yeah, making videos going after her full bore. So in this particular video, they again have a go at Tulsi Gabbard, but they make this odd argument that Tulsi Gabbard, that the events that are taking place, Sam Seder doesn't understand politics, or at the very least he doesn't know what politics are. I watched this and I couldn't tell if he was dumb or if he was disingenuous. Meaning, is he being squirrely with his audience and not necessarily giving them the real analysis based on a political position? Or is he really just in the dark and he doesn't know? I don't know the answer to that. It sounds like he doesn't know what politics are, though. Take a look at this and let's talk about this video. Again, he's attacking Tulsi. And, you know, the odd part about it is, to some degree, I partially agree with him in a portion of this. But let's take a look at the video first. And yes.
To come together and have a...
Oh, just to give a heads up. Tulsi Gabbard went on Jake Tapper. And while on Jake Tapper asked her about the shutdown. Tulsi Gabbard gives a response that essentially says it's both people's fault, meaning both sides. It's the Democratic Party's fault, it's the Republican Party's fault, because they've hardened their positions. Let's take a look at Seder. Didn't like this. Him and the rest of the Democratic establishment hates this woman. It makes me like her a little bit, that much more.
A real conversation and hash out the differences and come up with something that works best for the American people.
That's interesting, though, because you sound like you're not just blaming President Trump on this, you're also blaming Democratic leaders in Congress.
It gets hard.
Both sides have completely hardened their positions and are unwilling to come together and work out the differences, and that's the problem here. It's a problem that we see with a lot of issues that come before us in Washington, is an unwillingness to just say, hey, here's my position, here's yours, let's figure out how we can work out the differences that we can, putting forward the best solution for the American people. Our federal employees and contractors and their families have gone on for far too long suffering as a result of this intransigence, where people are putting politics before the well-being of the American people and our country.
Now, even in my most generous moments, I would say, oh, yeah, the politics are when Pelosi says you can't come to give the State of the Union address. That is, you know, politics. She's trying to highlight the fact that the government is shut down. And when Trump endangers the lives of Congress people by saying, oh, you're going on commercial flight to Afghanistan, that's politics. But there is a real difference of opinion here. I don't know what Tulsi Gabbard's...
Does he not know what politics is? I mean, for the most part, politics is managing these differences of opinions, especially when you're talking about large groups of people. It's as if he doesn't know what politics is. I mean, yeah, you could say that Nancy Pelosi essentially not allowing Trump to come to the State of the Union is politics to some degree. And you could say that, honestly, I would say that has more to do with both sides to some degree being dicks and, you know, putting a thumb in each other's eye. But yeah, from a political standpoint, it works. But let's be very clear. Nancy Pelosi could tomorrow open the government up. just as a basics of fact, tomorrow, if the Democratic Party wanted, they could come together and say, hey, let's open the government, let's give Trump his $5 billion. Just as Trump tomorrow could get rid of that stupid, the need for the border wall and open the government up. Both sides have the capacity to give in to the other side in order to open the government up, just as a basis of fact. From the standpoint of the politics, the Democratic Party would eat the leadership alive if they did that. Meaning, just because they could do that, from a political standpoint, it will be a cost for the Democrats to lose on this particular thing, seeing as the entirety of the base, and even for the most part, all of the left, looks at this and says, don't give them a goddamn dime. I'm not a Democrat, and I say, don't give them a goddamn dime. Now, from the standpoint of Trump, Trump has a base of meat eaters that wants him to build that wall. He's made a campaign pledge and a campaign promise that he was going to build the wall, in which case he loses something politically if he doesn't build that wall, even if it's just from the standpoint of optics. Both of these things are political, meaning the positions that both sides have staked out have a political cost associated with them that neither side wants to lose. So let's be very clear. This politics that's working on both fronts. It's not, Nancy Pelosi not getting on a flight, or Nancy Pelosi shutting down Trump's ability to go in to give his State of the Union speech. Yes, those are politics, but let's be very clear that the positions that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have staked out in this have to do with political stances. I don't understand why Sam Seder doesn't know what politics is. Now, from the standpoint of Tulsi Gabbard, Michael Brooks calls her position in this bizarre. I disagree with her position. I think it's entirely Trump's fault that the government is shut down. I don't think Democrats have any blame in this at all. This is everything to do with Donald Trump wanting to fulfill a campaign promise. Now, fulfilling that campaign promise is to some degree a degree of politics. I mean, he's doing this for his base. So I just want to be clear what I mean by this. All of this stuff is a basis of politics. And Tulsi Gabbard, if you want to say in this kind of raw political fashion, and so raw in politics is what she's doing, that it's somewhat distasteful. Like, to stand in front of a group and say, as a Democrat, it is both sides' fault. It's somewhat disingenuous. But she's doing this and she's staking out a political position of not necessarily bipartisanship, but the ability to buck the trends. This, I don't think this necessarily plays all that well in a primary, but it does play well in a general, and it plays well if you've fashioned yourself as somebody who can essentially buck the party on some issues and look to some degree bipartisan, even though you're going to trend towards the left. That's our political thing. Clinton's thing was being corrupt. Sanders' thing was being somewhat earnest. That's her thing. Whether she wins or loses with it, that's her thing. It's taking a political position. Apparently Sam Seder doesn't know what the definition of politics is. Michael Brooks gets closer when Michael Brooks kind of makes this point of, if she's staking this position now for a Kasich or something like that. I don't think it's that. Brooks gets closer to what it is. Whether it's successful or not is a second question. But let's be very clear that it is a political stance, and it is one that she's trying to run with, and for the most part, it's one that she's getting some of the label for anyway. Like, I don't see what's all that bizarre with this stance. No, I disagree with it. I think it was, all of this is Trump's fault. But let's be honest, this is not bizarre or anything else. It's just something that they disagree with. I mean, they've gotten their marching orders. It seems like the entire Democratic establishment is against Tulsi Gabbard, which makes me more in the bag for her. So, I'll leave this here. I'll leave this here. And I'll upload the original, since the original is going to be a better version. Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the PayPal or Patreon, and I will be back this evening. Thanks all.